full speed in the lane, still getting it.
What's going on, guys? Blaze Tonic here, and basically it's just a video about Robert Dahl. Apparently take a picture of him and he pops up on your phone or whatever, but sorry about the face cam in the corner. It's kind of laggy, but besides that, I hope you guys enjoy.
What's going on, guys? Blaze Tonic here, and today we're gonna basically do oh my god, guys, stop everything. Killer Warfare is here. So, alright, but anyway, let's get straight to the video and do a reaction video to this doll. It's called Robert Dahl. Mr. Blaze. It's, you take a screenshot of it and it basically stays on your photos, or stays on your phone or something for the rest of your life or whatever. And you're basically cursed, and I don't believe it, and I don't know, so like, it doesn't really... Come out now. Why? It's not. Alright, well, since there's a ghost in my closet, we're just gonna... the video. Seriously, you come out now. Okay. We're gonna search this up, alright? So, what was it, Robert? Keeps popping up. Robert. Robert's popping up. Robert. What the fuck? Oh, Robert the Doll's a movie? Yeah, it just said movie trailer. Alright, Robert the Doll. Let's see what all this is about. Hey guys, we are now entering the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, which houses something very unique. Robert the Doll, which inspired the movie Chucky. If you ever get a chance to visit him, don't take a picture of him before asking for his... You turn the volume up. Oh, there's a... what the fuck? Well, we're just gonna listen to it through the headset. Robert the Doll, which inspired the movie Chucky. If you ever get a chance to visit him, don't take a picture of him before asking for his permission to do so. Every year, he receives hundreds of letters of apology from former skeptics who took pictures without his permission. So, what's the story behind Robert the Doll? To understand this, we have to travel to a big Victorian mansion called the Artist House, a few miles away. It is called the Artist House because an artist, a painter, grew up here. His name was Robert Eugene Otto. When his mother was 4 months pregnant, she sends her husband to the Bahamas to find 4 helpers, including a woman, to take care of the baby. The trip took a little bit longer than it should have. The nanny became pregnant, and Mrs. Otto is not happy with who the father is. So now, this young Bahamian girl has to spend 9 months locked up inside an outhouse in the backyard. If that's not terrible enough, she's only fed bread and water once a day. When her own child was born, it only survives 2 months, obviously because of the mother's starvation. Mrs. Otto is a tough slave driver. She keeps all the servants, including the woman, and made the woman take care of Robert Eugene Otto, who's now a few months old. Now, you would probably expect the Bahamian woman to take her vengeance out on Robert, but she fell in love with this baby, even breastfed him, and took him on as if
for language in a bed and water while she was pregnant for a year, and she took the kid in as her own. That makes me. It's not racist. That's my game.
he were her own. Things go smooth for a while until Mrs. Otto walks into her backyard on a full moon night to see the 4 Bahamian servants performing Santeria. What is Santeria? It is a recognized religion which started in Cuba. It is a she's losing her second child, but there is no going back once Mrs. Otto makes up her mind. So she parting gift for Robert a 3-foot doll, black buttons for eyes, cloth for skin. The doll looks creepy enough, but what's more creepy, the doll becoming Otto's playmate on the island. He would be spotted walking up and down the street, talking to this doll. Now, as soon as the nanny left, bad things started to end up missing or broken. Being the only child, Robert Jean gets blamed for everything. But his reaction was very strange. As his mother would start to yell at him, she might go, "Robert Eugene Otto." Full name, the old-fashioned way of reprimanding a child, right? He would stop her and say, "Don't you ever call me that again." He would Robert, and I am Jean. He gave the doll his own first name and kept his own middle name for himself. Jean did this every time the blame game came up. He would say, "I didn't do it, Robert did it." Years passed by. Now Jean is a 19-year-old man, and he's still walking up and down the street with Robert the doll. At this point, the family decides to move to France. They pack up the entire house, everything except Robert the doll, who gets locked in a trunk and left behind in the attic. Jean, now without Robert, starts to become more sociable in France. He meets a lovely girl and eventually they get married. As a wedding present, they get the house that Jean grew up in, so they move back into the house. Now Jean goes up in the attic and comes across a trunk. He has no idea what's in there, but out comes Rob. Now we have a grown married man walking up and down the street, carrying and talking to a doll. Anne, who's his wife, gets pissed at this quirk, so he asks him to keep the doll confined to the turret. The turret is that big round thing on top. Jean agrees. After a few years, Jean becomes abusive and he will even beat Anne. One time, as Anne was inspecting the old outhouse in the backyard all by herself, Jean shuts the door and locks her in the outhouse for 3 days. Wait, it was not Jean, it was Robert. And yes, it is the same outhouse the Bahamian nanny was a stranger. Jean builds a bed, a chair, a couch, all built to scale for Robert. Sometimes Anne could hear Jean begging Robert not to hurt him. Jean starts to insist that Robert should be fed first because he was now the master of the house. In the evenings, kids would gather in front of the house, point right at the turret and say, "The doll, it moves." Footsteps would be heard in the turret even when Jean was not there. In 1974, Jean was found dead in the turret and Robert was seen on top of it. Not Robert should be fed first because he was now the
The
master
kids gather
of the
around.
house. In the evenings, kids would gather in front of the house, point right at the turret and say, "The doll, it moves." Footsteps would be heard in the turret even when Gene was not there. In 1974, Gene was found dead in the turret and Robert was seen on top of it, not hugging him, but with his hands around Gene's neck. After Gene's death, Anne leased the house and moved back to France, leaving the doll. In the lease, there was a clause that said Robert must be the sole occupant of the attic room. The new owners put up with him for a few years, but one night they found Robert in their bedroom with a kitchen knife in his hand.
They
So
don't
they
explain
gave
where this
Robert
dog
to
comes
the
from.
East Martello
The
Museum.
dog.
Always put in a closed case. During his first year in the museum, Robert was placed just like all the regular objects. But one morning, the person who opened the door found the whole place ransacked. Of course, nothing was missing, but Robert's shoes were covered in dust and was found sitting in a different place. From the letters sent by former Nazis, he had bad things to whoever made fun or people who did not ask permission before taking pictures. These people lost their jobs, marriages, and houses. One guy got a ticket as soon as he pulled out of the parking lot. Most people believe he has a very real Santeria curse on him, and if you don't ask his permission before laying eyes on him, bad things will happen to you. Wait, did you ask for his permission before watching this video? Walking up and down the street.
Robert, I'll take your picture. You're welcome. Here's your phone.
Ow! Do I try to take your picture?
Yeah, it's on your phone. Look at your pictures. Alright, so...
The picture of me, you faggot.
Oh, here's got a picture. Alright, well that happened. I took a picture. Hope you guys enjoyed. This was his sponsoring. This was his... And yeah, so I took a picture. So if I die tomorrow, you know why. It's been Blaze Tonic, and peace out.
And all time.